Now, the current state pension in the UK costs about £125 billion each year. And according to the OBR, that's 42% of the total government spending on welfare, and that is more than the budget for education and defence combined. Now, a survey conducted in 2021 showed that 50% of us believe in aliens, and yet just 33% of us believe there's going to be a state pension for us when we retire. So we believe more in extraterrestrial life than we believe that the government's going to be able to look after us when we retire. Hi, my name's Simon, and I'm a chartered financial planner with 30 years experience. I'm delighted to have helped hundreds of clients get back control of their finances, allowing them to plan for their retirement. Now, almost everyone's going to be depending on the triple lock to a lesser or greater degree. But there have been calls recently that the triple lock is not fit for the purpose that it was intended for, and it should be either means tested or even abolished, as it's too expensive to administer. On top of that, the calls are basically saying that we should perhaps be thinking about the futures and protecting the futures of younger generations instead. So in this video, I'm going to explain that whilst the triple lock seems simple in theory, does it actually work in practice? As well as whether means testing the triple lock is fair, or is it fatally flawed, which is going to leave us all paying the price with a more uncertain future. I'm also going to demonstrate some simple steps that we can all follow to protect ourselves against any future changes. So welcome back to the Personal Finance Crew. And if this is your first time, a very warm welcome to the Economies channel, where together we're going to be learning the language of money and wealth. So why don't you join me as we look at these controversial claims and about how these changes could affect literally millions of people in the UK, as well as these simple steps that we can all take to build a rock solid and a watertight retirement. So I'll see you in a minute. So the state pension benefit system in the UK is facing significant pressure due to an improved average life expectancy of 82, as well as having fewer people in the workforce, with 9.4 million people now being classified as economically inactive, and that includes 2.8 million people on long-term sick. And you also need to factor in, we've got falling birth rates in the UK, and we've now dropped to 1.44, which is the lowest on record. Now that means there's not only going to be an unstable and a falling population, without immigration of course, but there's going to be a huge imbalance between the taxes received by the government and the government's spending. And that's going to make the whole state pension benefit system unsustainable for the future. So what exactly is the triple lock? Well, this has been a cornerstone of the pension system, and this was introduced in 2010 to ensure that the state pension would keep pace with inflation after the outrageous and frankly insulting state pension increase of just 75 pence a week, and that was 25 years ago. But what started out as a well-intentioned idea has now morphed into yet another millstone around the government's neck, as well as in our wallets as well, because we're all taxpayers. So if the triple lock becomes means tested or even abolished, would this be considered fair for the benefit of younger generations, or would it be a betrayal of pensioners and a breach of our social contract with the government? Let me know in the comments below. So thanks to the triple lock, the state pension increases by the highest of either inflation measured by CPI, the average earnings growth, or 2.5%. Now, the most recent increase to the state pension is going to be 4.1%, and that's going to be coming into force in April 2025. Now, if you didn't know, there are two state pensions in the UK. Now, we have the old basic state pension for those who retired before 2016, and that's based on 30 qualifying years, and that's going to increase to £176.46 a week, or £9,175.92 for the year. And we also have the single tier state pension for those who retire after 2016, and that's based on having 35 qualifying years, and that will increase to £230.25 a week, or £11,900 £973 a year. Now, there are new figures from the Department for Work and Pensions, the DWP, and that shows we currently have 12.9 million people receiving the state pension as of May 2024. And that's an increase of 1.7%. What that means is there's an additional 220,000 new pensioners claiming their pensions. And this has intensified financial concerns about the extra pressure that's going to place on the already creaking government finances. Now, the triple lock policy is projected to increase the UK debt by a further 8% in the next 50 years, despite planned increases to the state pension age to 68, and it's likely to be even higher than that. So there are now calls from multiple sources to reform the triple lock, including the OECD, the Institute for Fiscal Studies, and the Adam Smith Institute. And all this is to limit the increases to the state pension so this does not become an increased burden in terms of cost as well as administration, so the state pension can be more sustainable for future generations. Now, if you're finding value in this controversial video so far, please hit the like and the subscribe button, as well as a notification bell, so you don't miss any of this valuable content that we publish every Saturday at around 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We're on the road to build a personal finance community of over 10,000, and you are more than welcome to join us for the journey. So what's the case for means testing? Well, this controversial idea is that vital money could be redirected to those who need it most. So the wealthier pensioners would get lower or slower increases or none at all. And that will then free up funds for the most vulnerable, the most needy, as well as for public services, of course, such as the NHS. Now, those in favour of means testing often ask the same question. Why should a baby boomer with a net worth of over £1 million get the same state pension and the same state pension rises as those who are worse off? And surely that would create more fairness in a system, a broken system, which would perhaps lower the overall financial cost of providing the state pension. So what's the case against means testing? Well, for many, this feels like a social contract between us and the government after we've paid into the system all of our working lives. And any changes to this would be seen as a breach and a betrayal. Now, I remember when the government temporarily suspended the triple lock in 2022, which was during the pandemic, and that was reduced to a double lock, and there was an immediate backlash. So would further changes to the triple lock be met with an even fiercer reaction? So what's happening with this pensions review that's been requested by the government? Well, the government announced a root and branch review of the current pension regime, and the triple lock is firmly in its sights, and it would indicate that the triple lock in its current form may have its days absolutely numbered. Now, the state pension age review has already been concluded, and the final report of the pension investment review is due in spring 2025. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our reaction to these recommendations and these changes. So how's this going to affect pensioners? Well, if this happens, the consequences for pensioners are going to be wide-ranging. Those wealthier pensioners who've planned ahead are unlikely to be affected so much, but those who rely on the state pension could face a lot more financial hardship. Now, Age UK warn that already 20% of pensioners are living in poverty, and any reduction in their benefits could push even more pensioners into this financial crisis. Now, the triple lock exposes some very deep social fault lines drawn in the UK between the young and the old, the rich and the poor, between entitlement and state pension suitability. So is it fair that younger generations are subsidising a system that increasingly feels like a Ponzi scheme? Or should the triple lock be upheld and paid at all costs? Well, the triple lock came at a time when there was government spending restraint, inverted commas, with a debt to GDP of about 74% in 2010, whereas now it's more like 100% or even higher. So with the recent tax, borrow and spend budget, combined with pension reform and the abolition of the winter fuel allowance, without warning I might add, as well as pensions now being included in inheritance tax from April 2027, it's likely that there are a lot more changes ahead. So what simple steps can we all take to protect ourselves from these potential changes? Well, we all need to increase our saving into our pensions or to our ISAs to build up a bigger safety net in retirement. We also need to maximize any workplace pension contributions along with any employer matches to boost the income that we can receive in retirement. We should all think carefully and consider the level of investment risk that we are willing to take. And that's going to depend both on our time horizon, our level of experience and understanding. But this can add literally thousands of pounds to our pension pot. We could also consider delaying our retirement and becoming semi-retired and taking up perhaps some part-time work. Now, if you think that the means-tested triple lock is the biggest problem we're facing at the moment, you'd be wrong. I've linked 2 other videos in this series, and one is about a means-tested state pension and how that would affect us all in retirement. And another is about how the state pension is just considered another Ponzi scheme, which is funded by the younger generations to pay for the older generations, and which is clearly failing in slow motion. So thank you so much for watching to the very end and for your patience and for your time as always. And I'm going to see you all again next week.